It was a crisp autumn morning in Palo Alto, California, as Elon Musk stepped out of his private Tesla Model S and into the bustling streets near the Tesla headquarters. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting an amber glow across the Tesla factory buildings. Elon had a full schedule ahead, including meetings with his SpaceX team, a couple of major announcements to prepare for, and of course, the constant demand for his attention from various projects, Boring Company, Neuralink, and even the latest developments at Twitter. But on this particular morning, something unexpected happened. As Elon briskly walked toward the entrance, he decided to skip his usual chauffeured car and take a moment for himself. He stepped onto the street, his mind buzzing with thoughts about the upcoming quarterly earnings and the latest advancements in electric vehicle technology. He needed a break, something to clear his head. He flagged down an Uber, his finger swiping across the screen of his phone, and within minutes, a car pulled up in front of him. Elon wasn't looking for anything special, just a ride to the nearest cafe where he could relax for a few moments before diving back into his work. As the door opened, he stepped into the back seat, offering a polite good morning to the driver. The man, wearing a navy blue t-shirt and a worn-out cap, turned around and smiled. Elon barely glanced at the driver before settling into the back seat, tapping away on his phone. The car started moving smoothly, and for a brief moment, the world seemed to slow down around him. The car passed by familiar landmarks, and Elon let out a deep sigh, still distracted by the tasks that awaited him. But then something caught his eye. As the car made a turn onto a quieter street, Elon's gaze shifted from his phone to the driver's rearview mirror. There was something oddly familiar about the man driving the Uber. His face looked like someone Elon had known years ago, someone he hadn't seen in a long time. The man had a rugged look, his dark hair peppered with a few strands of gray. He seemed relaxed, but there was an air of quiet confidence about him. Elon's mind began to churn. He recognized that face. "Hey, excuse me," Elon said, his voice sounding a bit more curious than usual. The driver glanced back through the mirror, raising an eyebrow. "Have we met before?" The driver smiled again, a little more broadly this time. "I don't think so, sir. But I used to work for Tesla." Elon's eyebrows shot up. "Tesla? Really?" His curiosity piqued. "What did you do there?" The driver nodded. "I was an engineer working on the early designs for the Model X and Model 3. I helped with a lot of the software development, testing, and even some of the hardware." Elon felt a jolt of recognition. This man was no ordinary Uber driver. He was one of the engineers who had worked on some of the most pivotal projects at Tesla during its early years, back when Tesla was still struggling to prove itself in the world of electric vehicles. Elon leaned forward, trying to recall his name. "Wait a second, you're Greg, right? Greg Harp." The man turned around, a slight look of surprise crossing his face. "Wow, you actually remembered my name." "Yes, that's me, Greg Harp." Elon smiled, leaning back into the seat. "I remember now. You were brilliant with the integration of the electric motors for the Model X. You helped make the Falcon wing doors work properly, right?" Greg's smile widened, clearly pleased that Elon remembered the details. "Yes, that's me. A lot of long nights, testing and troubleshooting. Those were the days when Tesla felt like a big gamble." Elon nodded thoughtfully. "It still feels like a gamble sometimes, but we've come a long way since then." There was a long pause, filled only with the hum of the electric car's engine as it navigated through the city streets. The conversation shifted toward the Tesla journey, how the company had grown, how much it had evolved since the early days when engineers like Greg were working tirelessly behind the scenes. Elon appreciated the conversation, feeling a moment of connection with the man who had been part of the company's foundation. "So," Elon said, breaking the silence, "what are you doing now?" Greg's face softened, his expression becoming more solemn. "Well, I'm retired now. I left Tesla a couple of years ago. Decided to take a different path. I've been driving Uber to stay busy. It's not glamorous, but it's a decent way to make a living while I figure things out." Elon was taken aback. He had never imagined someone like Greg, who had played such an integral role in Tesla's development, would end up driving for Uber. It seemed like a drastic shift from the heights of innovation to a much quieter, unassuming life. "I didn't expect that," Elon said, his voice tinged with surprise. "You were a key part of our success, and now you're doing this?" Greg let out a soft chuckle, his eyes reflecting a mixture of resignation and peace. Sometimes life takes you in unexpected directions, Mr. Musk. Tesla was my dream job, but things change. I felt like I needed to step away, and this is where I've landed. No regrets, though. Elon sat back, his mind swirling with the unexpected turn of events. He had just reconnected with a former Tesla engineer who had played a pivotal role in shaping the future of electric vehicles, and now he was driving an Uber in Palo Alto. The irony was not lost on Elon. As they approached the cafe, Elon found himself deep in thought. What did this encounter mean? Was it a simple coincidence? Or was there something more to it? Elon had always believed in the power of second chances and redemption, but this was something entirely different. This was an opportunity, one that could change Greg's life, and perhaps even Tesla's trajectory, in ways he had never imagined. He wasn't sure what his next move would be, but one thing was certain. This ride had already become far more than just a simple Uber trip. Elon Musk sat quietly in the back seat as the Uber pulled into the parking lot of the cafe. The morning sunlight was now fully on display, casting a soft golden hue across the street. The bustling city of Palo Alto seemed to be waking up, with people starting their day and businesses slowly opening their doors. For a moment, Elon felt a sense of calm that he hadn't experienced in a long time. Greg, the driver, slowed the car to a stop. "Here we are," he said, glancing over his shoulder. "Hope you have a good breakfast, Mr. Musk." Elon smiled, his thoughts still on their conversation. "Thanks, Greg. It was nice catching up. I never expected to see you like this." Greg's smile faltered just slightly, and for a moment, he looked somewhat pensive. "Yeah, life's funny that way. You never know where it's going to take you." Elon was about to step out of the car when he paused. There was something tugging at his mind. "Hey, Greg, how would you feel about a little project?" Greg's brow furrowed slightly, confused by the sudden turn in the conversation. "A project? What do you mean?" Elon leaned forward, his tone shifting to one of genuine interest. "You've got a brilliant mind, Greg. And I've been thinking. Tesla could use people like you. People who know the early technology inside and out. What if you could come back and help us out again, but this time in a new capacity?" Greg's face tightened for a brief moment as though he were processing the offer. "I don't know, Mr. Musk. I'm not sure what I'd even contribute anymore. It's been a while, and I've moved on." Elon, ever persistent and driven, wasn't about to give up that easily. "I get it," he said, nodding thoughtfully. "But hear me out. The thing is, we're pushing the envelope on so many fronts at Tesla: self-driving, battery innovations, SpaceX collaborations, and we've lost some of that scrappy, hands-on mentality that made us great in the beginning. We could use someone who has been through the grind, who's seen the blood, sweat, and tears that it took to make this all happen. Someone like you." Greg was silent for a moment, his fingers absently tapping the steering wheel. The offer was tempting, but there was hesitation. "I've been out of the game for a while. I don't know if I'd be able to jump back in like that. Things must have changed a lot since I left." Elon leaned in, his eyes narrowing in focus. "Sure, things have changed, but that's what makes you valuable. You understand the roots of the technology, the vision, that can't be replaced. You wouldn't be coming back as just another engineer. You'd be a consultant, someone who helps guide the next generation of Tesla products. You'd have flexibility, and you wouldn't be buried in bureaucracy. I'm talking about bringing someone like you into the fold again, but with the kind of freedom you've never had before." Greg stared out the windshield, clearly weighing the pros and cons. It was hard for him to imagine returning to that world, to the endless hours spent testing and debugging. But at the same time, the thought of reuniting with his old colleagues, of being part of something that had grown into such an influential force in the world, was a tantalizing proposition. Elon's words struck a chord, and Greg couldn't help but feel a flicker of excitement that had been dormant for years. "I appreciate the offer, Elon," Greg said, his voice quieter now. "But I don't know if I can just pick up where I left off. I've been living a different life, and I'm not sure I can go back to that grind." It was intense. Elon leaned back in his seat, thinking for a moment. He wasn't about to let Greg slip away so easily. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to return full-time. But you can make a big impact by coming back part-time, just enough to help guide us when we need it. We're facing new challenges now, and I know you can help us avoid the mistakes we made in the past. Greg seemed to mull this over, but the more he thought about it, the more the idea seemed to resonate with him. His days of full-time work in the trenches of Tesla's projects had long been behind him, but perhaps this could be a way to contribute without going back to the grind. He had always been passionate about the technology, and part of him missed the rush of creating something groundbreaking. Maybe this was the opportunity he had been waiting for, even if it didn't look like what he had envisioned for his future. "All right," Greg said finally, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "I'll think about it, but I want to make sure that whatever I do, it's on my terms." Elon smiled, his confidence never wavering. "That's all I ask. Just think about it, Greg. We're at a point in Tesla's journey where experience counts more than ever." The car pulled into the parking lot of the cafe, and Elon stepped out, turning back to Greg one last time. "Thanks for the ride, Greg. I'll be in touch." Greg nodded, offering a final smile as Elon walked into the cafe. The conversation had left him with more questions than answers, but one thing was clear: Elon Musk was offering him a chance at redemption, a chance to re-enter a world he had left behind, but this time, on his own terms. As Elon sat down at a corner table in the cafe, sipping his coffee and thinking about the morning's unexpected turn of events, he couldn't help but feel a surge of optimism. This wasn't just about helping Greg. It was about reawakening the spirit of innovation at Tesla, the very same spirit that had driven the company to achieve the impossible. And maybe, just maybe, Greg Harp would be the catalyst to spark that fire once again. The morning passed in a blur of meetings and calls, but Elon Musk's mind kept drifting back to his encounter with Greg Harp. He had always believed in second chances and new opportunities, but this felt different. This was a moment of serendipity. Greg, once a key player at Tesla, now an Uber driver, might be just what the company needed at this crucial juncture. After finishing his coffee and wrapping up the morning meetings, Elon pulled out his phone. He sent Greg a simple message: "Let's set up a meeting this week to discuss more." "I'm serious about this." Greg replied almost immediately, "Sounds good. I'll clear some time." Elon's mind raced as he walked out of the cafe. Tesla had reached a pivotal point. With the latest advancements in autonomous driving and the ambitious goals to launch the Cybertruck, Tesla needed experienced hands on deck, people who had been there from the very beginning, who understood the intricacies of the technology inside and out. Greg had helped build Tesla into what it was, and now he could help Tesla evolve. Elon arrived back at Tesla's headquarters, greeted by his usual entourage of engineers and staff members. But today his focus was elsewhere. He walked straight to his office and called his assistant, Sarah. "Hey Sarah, I need you to set up a meeting with Greg Harp. Let's bring him in for a casual sit-down." Sarah's voice crackled through the phone. "Greg Harp? The former engineer? Is this about the Uber driver you mentioned earlier?" Elon nodded, despite knowing Sarah couldn't see him. "Exactly. I want him to come in and meet with some of the senior team members. We need to understand if he's interested in joining us, even if it's just as a consultant." Sarah hesitated for a moment. "Understood, Elon. I'll arrange it." Elon hung up and returned to his desk, where he spread out a few reports about Tesla's current initiatives. Despite the high-pressure nature of his role, his thoughts kept going back to Greg. It was strange, but a part of him felt that Greg was the missing piece. He had always believed in surrounding himself with talented individuals who could challenge the status quo, and Greg had the kind of experience that could be invaluable as Tesla continued to push boundaries. A few days later, Greg arrived at Tesla's headquarters and the scene felt almost surreal. Elon had arranged for Greg to meet with the senior engineering team in one of the conference rooms. Elon greeted him warmly at the door. "Greg, I'm glad you could make it. Let's get started." Greg walked into the meeting room, his hands slightly nervous as he took a seat. He had been out of the game for a while, and the sight of Tesla's high-tech, sleek offices was a stark contrast to the Uber rides he had been driving. The room was filled with engineers, some of whom he recognized from his days at Tesla, though many were new faces. But the energy in the room was unmistakable. Tesla's ambition was still alive and well. Elon wasted no time. "All right, everyone. This is Greg Harp. Some of you may know him as one of the original engineers who worked on the Model X and Model 3. He's been off the grid for a while, but I think he can bring something special to the table. Greg, I'll let you take it from here." Greg cleared his throat, standing up to address the team. "I won't lie, I'm not sure what I have to offer at this point. But what I do know is that I've spent years thinking about Tesla, the work we did, and the direction the company has taken. There are things I've learned over the years that could help, and if I'm going to come back, it has to be on my terms." Elon gave him an encouraging nod and the room fell silent, allowing Greg to speak his mind. I think Tesla is at a crossroads. You've done an incredible job, but there's a part of the company's soul that's been lost along the way. It's the raw creativity and hands-on approach that we had when we were in the early days. You're working on incredible products, but are you doing them with the same spirit and drive we had back then? I think I can help you find that again. There was a pause and several engineers exchanged glances. Elon's eyes sparkled with excitement. This wasn't just a former Tesla employee returning, this was someone who understood the heart of the company, someone who could reignite the passion that had once fueled Tesla's success. One of the senior engineers, Alex, spoke up. Greg, what exactly are you suggesting? You're talking about going back to the basics, but we've got teams working on self-driving cars, AI, and space exploration now. Things are a lot more complex than when we were just working on the Model S. Greg smiled. I know. But what I'm saying is that technology is only as strong as the people who understand it. You need people who know how things work at the core level. You need people who understand the systems, the troubleshooting, and the creativity that made Tesla great in the first place. You can't rely only on algorithms and AI to solve every problem. There has to be a balance. Elon nodded thoughtfully. Exactly what I've been saying for months. Greg, I think you've got a point. But what do you want from us? What's your vision for coming back? Greg sat back down, his posture more relaxed now that he had the team's attention. I'm not interested in going back to being a regular engineer, but I'd like to be involved in a way that allows me to consult on the direction of the company's development. I want to work on projects that matter, not just to be another cog in the machine. I'm interested in guiding the next wave of Tesla's innovations, not getting bogged down in the day-to-day operations. Elon looked around the room at the team. It sounds like Greg wants to come back as a consultant, a senior advisor, really. Someone who brings experience and wisdom to the table without being tied down by the bureaucracy. What do you all think? The room was quiet for a moment, but then Alex spoke up again. I think it could work. Greg knows our weaknesses, and he understands the core of what we've built. If he can help us get back to that raw creativity, then I'm all for it. Elon grinned. Great. Welcome back, Greg. You've got a lot of work ahead of you. Greg smiled, feeling the weight of the decision he had just made. It wasn't going to be easy, but he was ready. Tesla had always been a part of him, and now he had the chance to help guide it once again on his own terms. The days that followed Greg's official return to Tesla were filled with anticipation and uncertainty. For Greg, it was like stepping into a time machine. Everything around him felt familiar, but the scale of the operation had changed drastically. Tesla was no longer the scrappy startup it had once been. It had grown into a global powerhouse with ambitious plans to revolutionize not just the automotive industry but the entire world. Greg spent his first few days meeting with various teams, reintroducing himself to old colleagues and familiarizing himself with the new hires who had taken his place. It was clear that while Tesla had flourished, it had also evolved in ways that weren't immediately apparent to someone who had been out of the loop for years. Greg observed with a discerning eye, noting the areas where things had become more streamlined and, in his mind, less innovative. One afternoon, Elon Musk invited Greg to his private office. The mood was more relaxed than in the boardroom meetings, a rare moment of quiet away from the hustle and bustle of Tesla's headquarters. Elon was seated behind his desk, looking over a set of reports, while Greg stood near the window, taking in the expansive view of the Tesla factory just beyond the glass. So, Greg, Elon began, breaking the silence. What do you think? How do you feel about the direction we're headed? Greg turned from the window, his expression thoughtful. It's impressive, Elon. Tesla's grown. I see the vision, the goals. But I also see some cracks. You've got engineers pushing out incredible technology, but there's a certain, how do I put it, soul missing from some of the work. Elon looked up from his reports, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if weighing Greg's words. What do you mean by soul? Greg took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. When we first started, we were all in it together. Every project was a team effort and there was a certain passion that drove everything. I get the sense that some of that passion has been diluted. Sure, we're doing things on a massive scale, but the innovative edge, that hunger to create something groundbreaking, it's harder to come by when you're managing billions in revenue and dealing with bureaucracy. Elon leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled in thought. So you're saying we need to return to that original spirit? Get back to basics? Greg nodded. Exactly. We've got incredible technology now and we've built something that's truly world-changing. But we need to maintain that raw creativity, that willingness to take risks. Right now, Tesla's focus is on execution, but there's a risk of losing sight of why we started this in the first place. Elon's expression softened as though he were considering Greg's words in a new light. I get what you're saying. I guess I've been so focused on scaling up that I've forgotten what made us different. I'll admit, sometimes I get lost in the numbers and the targets. Greg smiled. It happens. But the thing is, the best innovations come from that discomfort, from the pressure to do something no one else has done before. It's about getting back to the excitement we had when we first introduced the Roadster or when we launched the Model S. It wasn't about hitting a number. It was about doing something audacious, something no one else thought was possible. Elon stood up, walking over to the window where Greg had been standing moments before. He looked out at the factory floor, his gaze distant. You know, you're right. I think we've lost a bit of that. It's hard to keep that fire burning when you're running an empire. But I don't want to lose it. We've got to figure out how to reignite that spark. Greg turned toward Elon, his voice steady but filled with purpose. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to refocus. There are a lot of people here who still have that drive. We just need to give them the space to take risks again, to fail and learn, to push boundaries. Elon turned back to him, his eyes now full of determination. All right, Greg. You've got my ear. Let's figure out how we can get back to that. Let's put the soul back into Tesla. Greg's heart raced as he realized the enormity of what he had just set in motion. This wasn't just about rejoining Tesla, it was about reinvigorating it. It was about returning to the roots of innovation, about rediscovering the passion that had made Tesla a trailblazer in the first place. And he would be at the helm, guiding the company back to that point of pure, unbridled creativity. The following weeks were a whirlwind of meetings, brainstorming sessions, and strategic discussions. Greg quickly became a key player in shaping Tesla's new direction, acting as a bridge between the old and the new. He worked closely with the engineers, encouraging them to think outside the box, to challenge the status quo. He brought back some of the old processes that had fostered the company's earliest successes, like informal design sprints and brainstorming sessions that encouraged wild ideas without fear of failure. Elon also leaned into Greg's advice, pushing for more creative freedom within Tesla's various divisions. Together, they reintroduced the spirit of audacity that had once defined the company. They made decisions not based on data alone, but on intuition and gut feeling, which had led to some of Tesla's most memorable innovations. As Tesla's new initiatives took shape, it became clear that Greg had breathed new life into the company. There was a renewed sense of excitement, and the engineers were energized by the possibility of making bold moves once again. One afternoon, Elon called Greg into his office. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, Elon began, his voice serious. I want to thank you for everything you've done so far. You've really helped us get back on track. Greg smiled, though he could sense there was more to Elon's words. It's been a team effort, Elon, but I'm glad we're heading in the right direction. Elon leaned forward, his eyes glinting with determination. I think it's time to take this to the next level. We're about to make a big announcement, something that will change everything for Tesla and the world. I need you to be part of it front and center. Greg's heart skipped a beat. What are you planning? Elon's smile grew. You'll see soon enough. But I need someone with your vision to help make it happen. As Greg sat back in his chair, he realized that this was just the beginning. He had come back to Tesla to offer guidance and experience, but now, he was poised to be part of something much bigger. A new chapter in Tesla's story, one that would redefine the future of technology and innovation. The day of the big announcement arrived sooner than Greg had expected. The air in Tesla's headquarters was charged with anticipation. A sense of purpose seemed to grip everyone, and the energy in the building was palpable. In the weeks leading up to this day, Greg had been working closely with Elon and the rest of the team, preparing for a project so groundbreaking that it had the potential to reshape the way the world viewed transportation and energy consumption. Elon had kept the details under wraps, and the secrecy surrounding the project only heightened the sense of excitement. Greg could feel the weight of the moment, knowing that his role in this would not just affect Tesla, it could have ramifications that rippled out across the entire industry. The press conference room was packed with reporters, analysts, and influencers, all eagerly awaiting Elon's presentation. Greg, standing near the side of the stage, felt his heart race as the lights dimmed and the crowd hushed in anticipation. Elon appeared on stage wearing his signature black t-shirt and jeans, a confident grin on his face. His presence commanded attention and the audience seemed to hang on his every word. Today, Elon began, his voice calm yet filled with excitement. We are announcing something that will change the future of sustainable energy and transportation. For years, we've been working behind the scenes on a project that will not just accelerate the transition to electric vehicles, but will also redefine the way we think about energy usage on a global scale. The crowd leaned in, eager to hear more. We've taken what we've learned from electric cars and solar energy, Elon continued, and applied that knowledge to a new, revolutionary concept. Something that has the potential to make fossil fuels obsolete. We call it the Tesla energy grid. A murmur swept through the room. Greg could feel the excitement building, and he knew that this was going to be the moment that solidified Tesla's place as the leader of the energy revolution. Elon smiled, clearly enjoying the moment. The Tesla energy grid is a decentralized energy system that combines solar energy, electric vehicles, and energy storage into a fully integrated network. It's a system that can power entire cities without relying on fossil fuels, without relying on centralized power plants. Greg watched as Elon spoke with the same passion that had driven him to create Tesla in the first place. He could see that the fire was still there, stronger than ever. And this time, it wasn't just about building electric cars, it was about changing the way the world operated at its most fundamental level. Elon turned to Greg, who was standing at the side of the stage. "Greg," he said, gesturing for him to come forward. "Why don't you tell them how you were involved in making this vision a reality?" Greg walked to the center of the stage, his heart pounding. The spotlight hit him, and for a moment he was overcome by the magnitude of what was happening. He took a deep breath and then began to speak. "When Elon brought me back to Tesla, I didn't know what to expect. But what I found here was a company that was ready to push beyond the limits of what anyone thought was possible. We've always been about innovation, about taking risks. But the Tesla energy grid isn't just another step forward, it's a leap. It's the culmination of everything we've worked for. It's the kind of audacious idea that can change the world." The audience was silent, hanging on Greg's every word. "What's different about this project," Greg continued, "is that it's not just about technology, it's about people. It's about giving individuals the power to control their own energy consumption. It's about creating a world where we're no longer dependent on fossil fuels, where we can all be a part of the solution." Elon stepped forward, placing a hand on Greg's shoulder. "I couldn't have done it without Greg," he said. "He's the one who reminded us that while we're building the future, we can't forget the soul of what Tesla is all about. He's the one who brought the creativity back to Tesla." The crowd erupted into applause, and Greg felt a sense of pride welling up inside him. It wasn't just the applause that mattered, it was the realization that, together, they had created something that could truly change the world. The announcement of the Tesla energy grid sent shockwaves through the tech and energy sectors. The concept of a decentralized, sustainable energy system was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Media outlets covered the story extensively, and competitors scrambled to catch up. But for Greg, it was more than just a successful product launch, it was the fulfillment of a dream he had carried for years. Over the next few months, Tesla's influence continued to grow. The energy grid proved to be a success, and Tesla's expansion into energy storage and renewable power generation began to reshape the global energy landscape. Tesla cars were no longer just vehicles, they were part of an interconnected, self-sustaining ecosystem that powered homes, businesses, and even entire cities. Greg, now an integral part of the leadership team, found himself at the forefront of Tesla's next phase of growth. The challenges ahead were enormous, but for the first time in years, he felt invigorated by the possibilities. He had come full circle from the humble beginnings of Tesla to this groundbreaking moment in history. Elon Musk, the visionary entrepreneur, had always been known for his bold ideas and willingness to take risks. But it was Greg's return to Tesla that reignited that spark of creativity, of passion. Together, they had proven that anything was possible if you dared to dream big enough. As Greg looked out over the Tesla campus, watching engineers and scientists work tirelessly on the next big breakthrough, he couldn't help but feel that, no matter what happened next, they had already achieved something incredible. Tesla was no longer just a company, it was a movement, and it was only just beginning. The future of sustainable energy had arrived, and it was brighter than anyone could have imagined.